Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to We Are All Okay Wednesdays. This is the day where I remind you just how okay you actually are, because we often forget. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in the Quran that He will never burden a soul beyond what it can bear, and that is our evidence and all the evidence that we need to know that we are okay, no matter what we're going through, what's happening in our lives. Alhamdulillah. Have you ever experienced that really intense worrying, the sort of worrying that keeps you awake at night, that distracts you from what you're meant to be doing, has you feeling pretty stressed out about a loved one? It might be your child that is struggling with something, and you feel helpless to be able to do anything other than watch them go through that challenge. It might be that you have an older teenage child that is not coming home when they're meant to come home, and you're sick to the stomach worrying about what's happening to them. So it could be that you're worrying about family that you have overseas, that there's not much you can do for them except, be from a distance, and they're going through tough things. Maybe it's your parents, maybe it's friends, but that really sick, worrying feeling that really makes you feel sick to the stomach and keeps you awake at night and very distressed. Have you ever felt that way? I have found that we have misunderstood that worrying does not mean caring. We have held on to that worrying feeling, believing that if we stop the worrying, that is showing that we don't care, that there's an expectation upon us to worry to show that we care. Research tells us that when we have those types of worries and stresses, that it really does affect our health in many different ways, especially the lack of sleep. We can put on weight because when we don't get enough sleep, we eat more to keep the energies up during the day. When we worry a lot and stress a lot, we get higher cortisol levels, which if they stay high, interfere with all the other hormones in our body. So worry and stress is actually causing us harm. It's something that's meant to happen in a moment of danger to help us get out of danger. But it's not something that our bodies were designed to hold on to. And perhaps if we look at it now from an Islamic perspective, as I started at the beginning of this Facebook Live, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear. And so we, as Muslims, as true believers, accept that everything happens according to the qadr of Allah. And however this situation pans out, then it's all the qadr of Allah, that it was meant to happen that way. So our job is to show up and do the best we can in that moment. Now, in these situations where we're worrying about a loved one, usually the worry is coming from the fact that we can't do anything. There was a time when my second son, he doesn't do it anymore, he's an adult now, was about 14 or 15, and he would sneak out of the house. And before I had this understanding, I used to spend hours awake, nervous, worried. What was he up to? Is he okay? He wouldn't answer my phone calls, so I had no clue where he was. I would worry, how stupid I would look if something happened to him, and the police would come to me and go, well, where was the last time you knew he was? And I'd say, well, the last time I knew he was in his bedroom. That I didn't know where my child was. He was going through some difficult times, and he would just leave because he would want to chill with his friends. And in his mind, that was okay. Obviously, in my mind, that wasn't. However, there's no way as a mother that I could stay awake all night to make sure that he didn't leave. He would always wait until I was in the bathroom or somewhere where I wouldn't be able to stop him. I might be able to hear him going, but then that would be it. I wouldn't be able to stop him. One of the things I learned was that by worrying the whole time he was gone, that I was actually making myself sick. I was getting sicker and sicker. And when I realized that worrying wasn't helping the situation, in fact, worrying was messing with my good thinking, that if I had needed to think clearly about something, my state of worry was actually going to prevent me thinking clearly and well about the situation and what to do about it. Alhamdulillah, he didn't get into any trouble. And one time, subhanAllah, I had a conversation with him about, couldn't you just let me know where you are? Couldn't you just understand how worried I am? And he'd go, why are you worried? I'm okay. So in his mind, he's thinking, I have nothing to worry about because he knows he's okay. Not realizing that I needed to know he was okay. But the reality was, I didn't actually need to know he was okay in order to not worry. I needed to understand that not worrying was better for me and better for the situation, and it did not mean I didn't care about him, because what mum doesn't care about her child? Of course I cared about him. So we have this misconception that holding on to worry is showing that we care, and that if we let go of worry, it's showing we don't care. And society puts that pressure on us too. If they see us not worried, it's like, why aren't you worried? They think it's bizarre. SubhanAllah. The reason I can tell you very clearly that worrying is not the way to go and not necessary, and that the situation doesn't need to change in order for you to not worry, is because firstly, I experience that now, and secondly, I understand where those feelings come from. Our feelings come from thought in the moment. In fact, our worry is coming from, number one, an expectation that we expect that we are meant to worry in those situations. We are kind of like programmed to believe that that is how we should behave. And the reality is there's no should when it comes to behavior, because our behavior is coming from our feelings, which is coming from our thought. The other thing is that the sense of worry is coming from the thoughts that are going through our head. The thoughts of what if this, what if that, what if this. And the reality is, even if we sat there and imagined as many what ifs as we possibly could, driving ourselves crazy, none of them may be even true about what's happening in this moment or what's going to happen. The future is not real, and it's in Allah's hands. Everything is going to happen according to the qadr of Allah, and Allah's never going to burden us with more than we can bear. So we can relax in knowing that whatever is going to happen, that we can get through it, that we will be okay. So the best course of action is to make dua, because all power and might is with Allah, right? Make dua, make a cup of tea, and just take a deep breath and be okay. Because you being okay is going to be the best state to be in if there is something that goes wrong that you need to attend to. So that is my lesson for today. And I would love for you to download the ebook that I have put together, which maps out about this understanding, the understanding of the inside-out paradigm, how we work psychologically so that we can all be okay. Now I can stay here for a while and answer any questions. If you are on the replay, please make sure that you ask your questions so I can come back and answer them later. And invite others, sisters, that you think would be benefiting from this kind of information into our group We Are All Okay. This group is for Muslim women who wish to master their psychology, become emotionally resilient no matter what, to be the believer that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants of all of us, inshallah. So any questions that I can answer while I'm here? So that is a very good comment. It's very hard to stop worrying when this is all you have been doing. So yeah, it looks like worrying is the natural way to be, right? It looks like, why wouldn't you be worried? Isn't that what I should be doing? Won't I look like I don't care if I don't worry? So it's okay. And this is one of the interesting things about this understanding, is that the seeing it, the clarity that you get around it, the understanding, it comes through insight, and that insight comes from Allah. So it's okay if you can't see how that is possible right now. The most important thing that you take away from this session is a belief that it could be possible, that this is a possibility. So Larissa's saying that it's like, if I don't worry, I don't exist. Okay, so, if you're at that level where you're worrying that much, it's harming you. So let's look at it from a different Islamic perspective. Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permit us to harm ourselves? Have you ever thought of it from that angle? Like, we are so good at deluding ourselves. We're so good at thinking that this is a good thing that we're doing, and we haven't even really looked at it from other perspectives. So if it's harming you to have those cortisol levels going all the time, that's having that domino effect through your body, creating all sorts of problems in your body, then do you think Allah is going to be pleased with that? And the other way of looking at it is, if we are worrying, are we really putting our trust in Allah? Because that saying, you put your trust in Allah and you tie your camel. If we've tied our camel as much as we can, and in many of these situations there's nothing more we can do, right? Then if there's everything we've done, there's nothing else we can do, what do we have left? We need to trust in Allah. So not worrying is actually when we really sink into trusting Allah, that everything will be okay. Because it always is in the end. I'm sure if you reflect back, that over time, everything has worked out in the end. It may have been difficult through the process. It may not have been even necessarily easy, but in the end, it all tends to work out. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for your input, Larissa. It's great to have that feedback and understanding where people are feeling or what they're thinking, how they're seeing it, so I can answer that, inshallah. So I'm going to go, and if there are any questions, make sure you post them in the comments and I will come back to them. And don't forget to download the ebook that I've put together called We Are the Letter R All OK.com, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.